Hello everyone, the Green Scorpion here.
And We Do Day 3 here. And today, we're going to be talking about one of the greatest games that came out in 2012. Kid Icarus Uprising.
Kid Icarus Uprising marked Pit's return to the gaming world after he appeared in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And this game delivered with excellent visuals and music, fantastic gameplay, clever writing, and for the topic of this countdown, awesome boss battles.
The bosses in Kid Icarus Uprising are very well done and extremely memorable. I don't think there's a single boss in the game I didn't enjoy fighting with the exception of that annoying Hades Horde! Anyway, so the Green Scorpion and I are teaming up to bring you the top 15 greatest Kid Icarus Uprising boss battles.
Much like with any boss countdown, we'll be judging these bosses based on visual design and creativity, attack style, level of difficulty, and personality. Also, this shouldn't come as a surprise. This countdown is going to have some major spoilers, so if you haven't played the game yet, we recommend doing so first. And on that note, let's get started! In the chapter called The Three Trials, Pit must overcome a gauntlet of challenges in order to wield the Great Sacred Treasure. One of these trials is a boss rush consisting of some previous bosses in the game, but they've given a few twists.
In the middle of this boss rush is a completely out-of-nowhere boss fight that is a riot to play against. The fight begins with you fighting the goddess of light, Palutena, who seems a bit off.
All in all, Palutena isn't too complicated. She has a vast arsenal of projectile attacks, but as long as you keep your distance, you'll be able to take her down with enough attacks.
You continue the fight, and when you bring her down to half health, something... what the hell? Palutena! Just... why? This ugly form of Palutena is known as Pseudo-Palutena, and in this phase she becomes both faster and stronger. However, her attack pattern seems pretty much the same.
What really makes this a memorable boss fight, though, is its design. I literally had nightmares from that stare at the bottom of the screen.
That's horrible, putrid, soul-eating stab!
Dude, don't make me have to smack you!
Shutting up now. You thought the last boss came out of nowhere? Oh, you have seen nothing yet! In this chapter, Scorched Feathers, you control Dark Pit as you travel to the Rewind Spring to help save Pit from dying. However, once Dark Pit reaches the spring, Pandora frees herself from his wings and is out for revenge.
This fight starts off just like the fight back in Pandora's Labyrinth of Deceit. She flies around shooting projectiles, but ultimately she's really easy to beat. But then...
What?
Who's that?
It's the new improved me.
By bathing in the Rewind Spring, Pandora becomes Amazon Pandora. Setting aside the fact that she sprouts some jealousy from the other goddesses, she is such a pain to fight against. How, you may ask? Teleporting, bombs, reflectors, and she has 2 health bars.
With so much going on and the reflectors to worry about, this is a fight where melee combat and high mobility are encouraged. Claws are probably the best weapons to use in this fight, as it allows high movement to keep up with Pandora, and its high melee damage will guarantee a swift victory. I have to say though, I never expected Pandora to go from this to that.
Well, she is the goddess of deceit.
After enduring challenge after challenge, Dintos, the god of the forge, finally reveals your reward, the Great Sacred Treasure.
Now we all love piloting giant mechs, but what happens when you actually have to fight the machine? Instead of giving you the Great Sacred Treasure, Dintos makes the final trial to have Pit challenge the Great Sacred Treasure to a battle.
The Great Sacred Treasure's attacks are possibly the equivalent of bullet hell. In addition, it may be a huge target, but this thing has defenses. You need a good balance of swiftness and firepower, so going into this fight with either a blade, a bow, or orbiters is a good idea.
Being such a huge machine, this fight is not easy, and he even has an insta-kill laser that destroys half the arena. Question: how come Pit can't use that when he's piloting it?
He does. That's how he finishes Hades.
Shutting up now. Again. Arlon the Serene just goes to show that looks can be deceiving. He's one of the generals in Viridi's army, and you think this guy has no combat experience. You'd be wrong.
First of all, I have to mention Arlon's personality. He's the kind of upstanding gentleman who is very proper and respectful. In fact, he mentions during the level that he would rather settle issues with a nice spot of tea than have to resort to violence. Unfortunately, he's under the command of Veridi, so when Pit finally faces him, he's more than ready for him.
Arlon has magic attacks and lots of them, and how he incorporates them into the fight is just awesome. He uses illusionary magic that can throw Pit's focus off, and while doing that, he's constantly moving around and firing many hard-to-dodge projectiles.
There's really two ways to go about this fight. You can either keep your distance and pick him off with ranged attacks, or harass him with melee combat. For the former, a weapon with high homing capabilities is recommended, like bows or palms. As for the latter, the claw or an arm is recommended, but not really the club.
With a great personality, powerful magic, and an awesome mustache and monocle, Arlon the Serene will kick your butt and look very sophisticated while doing it.
Once again, we return to the 3 Trials chapter with yet another spectacular boss fight.
Way back in Chapter 2, you fought Dark Lord Ghoul with Magnus by your side. But what happens when Magnus picks the other team? That's right, you have to fight both of them at the same time, and it is awesome!
As another challenge for Pit, Lord Dintos calls Magnus and a newly revived and restored Dark Lord Ghoul to test Pit's abilities. Back when Ghoul fought alone, she mostly relied on spells and kept her distance. This time, her ranged combat makes her a perfect partner to Magnus' brute force.
During the fight, Magnus keeps you at close range while Ghoul backs him up with dark spells from a distance, making this an insane fight. This is where a balanced weapon is likely recommended, like a blade or an arm.
There really isn't a guaranteed way to make this fight easy, which ultimately makes it better, landing it at number 11.
So we finally meet again, Pit.
The Goddess of Darkness Medusa marks the end of the first act of the game, and man does it make it feel like the final boss. Medusa has been out for revenge against Palutena ever since the beginning, and she plans to start it with Pit.
After enduring the trials in Medusa's fortress, Pit finally confronts her, the 3 secret treasures on hand. This entire battle takes place in the air using the wings of Pegasus. All the while, Medusa is firing projectiles non-stop and doesn't give Pit a second's rest.
What's also cool about this boss fight is that after you beat it for the first time, you can tackle the chapter without the 3 sacred treasures. In this case, the aerial combat makes bows, palms, orbitars, arms, and even cannons a good choice for this fight.
With 2 forms, tons of attacks, her gigantic size, and the mortal world on the line, it makes for one intense battle.
At least until Hades comes out and trolls you.
It's game over, Chaos Kin!
Palutena has been possessed, and her soul has been confiscated. Skyworld and the mortal world are on the brink of destruction. And now, Pit must eliminate the source responsible for it all. Number 9 is the Chaos Kin.
This thing escaped Arlon's prison back during the chapter where you fought him. Soon after this, he turns Pit into a ring, possesses Palutena, and nearly brings the end of the world. So when you finally get to fight this thing, there's a feeling of payback, and it is so satisfying!
You team up with Dark Pit to take on this monster, and man is this thing slippery. This thing is constantly moving around the arena, and the only way you will be able to get up close to it is if it runs into one of Viridi's electro traps. Palms and bows are recommended for this fight due to their high homing capabilities.
The stakes are really high for this fight, but it doesn't get any higher because compared to the chase scene during the flight segment and the unending waves of enemies during this chapter, the actual fight is kind of bland. I mean, come on!
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but the fight itself was kind of underwhelming. Still, it's enough to take the number 9 spot.
Now that was a rain of death! Oh yeah!
With Palutena's temple protected by a shield, Pit and Veridi set out to get the lightning chariot. However, before you can get it, you need to defeat its master.
After probably the longest chapter in the entire game, Pit comes face to face with the Chariot Master, who challenges him to a chariot battle. First of all, I have to mention the Chariot Master's design and personality. The ghostly flames and armor make him look very wise and respectable, which matches his personality that greatly contrasts Pit's and Hades during the entire chapter.
Listen, I have a favor to ask borrow your crayon for just a little while?
Your foolishness is matched only by your rudeness.
Any riffraff can just waltz on in. After all, little kid can get another. But I must admit that I adore running about other people's homes.
Another uninvited guest? Well, at least show your face, so my lightning chariot can erase you from existence.
Now on to the boss itself. The fight is interesting because you're constantly moving similar to that of a Sonic boss fight. Also, when the Chariot Master is in the lead, he gains a lot more attack options, so it makes it like a race and a boss fight rolled into one.
There are hardly any opportunities for melee in this fight, so clubs, arms, and claws are not recommended. Something with high homing and damage would fit much better, so a bow would work best.
We also have to give credit to the dialogue during this fight and the cutscene that follows it. You find out the Chariot Master is just a tired soul seeking for someone to take care of Voss and Lux, his beloved horses. So when Pit deals the final blow, the Chariot Master passes on the torch and dies an honorable death. A wonderful end to a wonderful boss fight.
That was beautiful, man.